The tale kicks off with scientist Yang Gi-soo, a father so desperate to revive his daughter that he turns to bizarre, forbidden experiments. He brews a mysterious green substance, believing it holds the key to her resurrection. But just as hope flickers, the authorities storm in, shutting him down. Before anyone can react, a violent earthquake rips through Seoul, and the entire building crumbles, burying both dreams and secrets in the rubble. The story unfolds in a close-knit community of survivors who have learned to rely on each other. Nam-san, a skilled hunter, and his apprentice Choi Ji-won provide essential food for their neighbors, trading meat for goods in a world where money no longer matters. Suna and her grandmother often come to trade. Nam-san had rescued Suna during the earthquake 3 years ago, and now he cares for her like his own daughter. A group of thugs arrives, posing as police officers and claiming they're hunting for a criminal. Without warning, they started taking random people, including Suna. Ji-won steps in to protect her, but is brutally beaten by the thugs. Just as things seem hopeless, Nam-san steps in, his combat skills sharp as ever. He takes down the thugs with ease, sending them off. One day, a group of strangers arrives at Suna's door with an intriguing offer. They claim to represent a volunteer group that's building a safe, guarded community for families with children and teenagers. There's something unsettling about them, but the promise of clean water and steady food was hard to ignore. For Suna and her grandma, survival was a daily struggle, so they decided to go along with them. That night, Nam-san and Ji-won also decided to go for hunting. During the journey, they encountered groups of people from distant areas, all gathered by other volunteers. There Suna meet Lee Ju-ye, and they became good friends. Suna is separated from her grandma, along with an elderly man, under the false make-believe of being taken to a nearby medical facility. The chilling truth about this mysterious group began to unravel when they mercilessly slaughtered both of them in cold blood. Luckily, Nam-san and Ji-won witnessed the murder and started to fight them. But something was wrong. The attackers wouldn't die, no matter how many times they were stabbed. Nam-san and Ji-won were soon joined by Lee Eun-ho. Together, they fought fiercely, finally bringing down their relentless enemies. Lee Eun-ho was a former CCU Air Force sergeant with a deep understanding of Gi-soo's twisted schemes. She explained that after the catastrophe, they had been searching for survivors when they stumbled upon an intact apartment building. They kept it operational, offering clean water to those who had nowhere else to turn. But one day, Gi-soo finds his way into the building. Slowly, he formed a twisted cult, convincing some of the soldiers that he had the power to reshape the human body, molding it to survive the harsh, apocalyptic world they now faced. Eun-ho opposed his sick experiments and fights them and run off from the apartment. After that, they decided to go rescue Suna. When they arrived at the apartment, Gi-soo and the residents greeted them warmly, offering protection from the dangers of the outside world and promising food and water. The apartment seemed like a safe haven. But beneath the surface, Gi-soo had taken on the role of a dictator. Now free to carry out his twisted experiments, he only needed one thing: young people. Nam-san, Ji-won, and Eun-ho devised a bold plan: free Eun-ho's allies, who were locked in an underground prison, to strengthen their forces against Gi-soo's soldiers and rescue Suna. Once ready, they set off on their mission. Along the way, they looked around for Tiger, a former boxer, hoping to gather intel on how to infiltrate the apartment. But Tiger held a deep grudge against Nam-san, blaming him for ending his boxing career. Instead of helping, Tiger and his crew launched a fierce attack. Despite being outnumbered, Nam-san and his group fought back and defeats them. Realizing he had no choice, Tiger revealed a dark secret that he had been trading people, especially teenagers, with Gi-soo in exchange for clean water. Suna unease grew as the hours passed without any sign of her mother. Sensing something was wrong, she approached the sergeant for answers, but all she got were lies, leaving her even more suspicious. Soon after, the teenagers, including Suna, were isolated on the 8th floor of the building, while their parents were told they could only see them by scheduling a meeting. Meanwhile, The parents labored endlessly, unaware that the water they were helping produce was poisoned, the very water their children were drinking. Suna and Juye introduced themselves to the class, but something felt off. The students sat lifelessly, like their souls had been drained. A chill ran down Suna's spine as she noticed that every student had a strange cut just below their ears, sparking her curiosity. When water was served, Suna instinctively refused to drink, sensing something bad. Moments later, Gisu entered the classroom, and since Juye volunteers for his research, he approaches her and tells her to meet him after the class. That night, Suna decided to run away. Juye's parents begged the soldiers to let them see their daughter, but their refusal only fueled the parents' frustration and anger. Sensing the growing tension, Gisu appeared, offering false reassurances and telling them not to worry. But their persistence wore him down, and he reluctantly led them to the lab where Juye was being held. Suna sneaks in the lab and uncovers a book detailing the disturbing experiments being conducted. As she investigates further, she opens a door and finds Lee Juye unconscious. Finally, Gisu comes with Juye's parents. After seeing their daughter, they got scared, thinking that something might have happened to her, and they tried to wake her up, but their frantic shaking triggers a critical failure in the experiment. Tragically, their attempts to revive her only result in her death. Gisu gets angry for ruining his research and kills both of them. After that, Gisu finds Suna and decided to continue the research with her. Nam-san arrives at the apartment with Tiger and his crew in the truck, pretending to trade people for water. At that moment, Nam-san attacks them and accelerates the truck straight into the building, crashing through the entrance. After finding a way, the battle inside escalates fiercely. The situation becomes even more difficult when they confront soldiers enhanced with a reptilian substance. The only way to stop these formidable foes is by severing their heads. They went towards the basement to free their associates, but they were infected and started attacking them. After that, Gisu's men came and started firing, so Nam-san stayed behind and fights with them, while Ji-won and Eun-ho started searching for Suna, firing at their enemies as they advanced. Eun-ho encountered the sergeant and engaged him in combat, but she found herself outmatched by his superior strength. He stabs her and throws her out of the building. Ji-won, after searching for a while, reaches the classroom and finds the teacher and tells her to lead him to Suna. On their way, they meet the sergeant, but Nam-san comes and tells him to go ahead and that he will take care of him. Nam-san and the sergeant had an intense fight, but he manages to cut off his head and kills him. Finally, Ji-won finds Suna, but is immediately overpowered and beaten by a guard. After that, the doctor grabs the remains of his daughter and, in a desperate bid for escape, throws a grenade to create a path out. But Ji-won and Suna manages to escape from the blast. The families of the children capture Gisu and begin to beat him mercilessly. In a desperate attempt to defend himself, Gisu seizes a machine gun and opens fire on them. Nam-san finally shoots him, ending his empire of scientific nightmares. Rain starts falling after 6 months of unbroken sunshine. Even after the apocalypse, there is still space for hope. Thank you for watching Movie Mind. Subscribe for more updates.